sculpted entirely of the most exquisite Carrara marble from Firenze, Italia. Each joint containing a single pearl.
Are you stoned or something?
They tried stoning me, my dear. It did not work.
There's a new Johnny Depp movie out this week, Dark Shadows, a collaboration with Tim Burton based on an old TV show with which I was not familiar. And it's a very strange movie, odder than I expected or indeed hoped for. And there's a weird misconception out there that somehow I've got something against Johnny Depp based entirely on the fact that I loathe the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Of course, Jack Sparrow is the role that has brought him the most acclaim, the most fame, certainly the most money. In fact, one of my great problems with Pirates of the Caribbean is that I like Johnny Depp so much that I've come to expect so much from him that I am bitterly disappointed when he performs below par. I know people love Jack Sparrow, but to me, that's the performance of somebody doing a rotten Anthony Newley / David Bowie drunk Keith Richards impression, directed by somebody who is completely unable to contain and control what is great about Johnny Depp. See, for me, Johnny Depp's best performances are really choreographed, really disciplined. He is, for me, the great silent actor of the sound period. So, for what it's worth, here are my top 5 Johnny Depp films. At 5, Crybaby, trash maestro John Waters' loving homage to the classic rock and roll high school musical. The supporting cast includes such disreputable vagabonds as Tracy Lords and Iggy Pop, and Amy Locane's vocals were dubbed by no one other than Rachel Sweet. Interestingly enough, Waters said that he cast Johnny Depp after seeing his face on millions of teen magazines. Apparently, Johnny Depp, who had become a teen idol from 4 series of 21 Jump Street, said to Waters, "I really want to shed that lovable teen image." Waters said, "Stick with us, we'll destroy that for you overnight." At 4, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Terry Gilliam's still woefully underrated adaptation of Hunter S. Thompson's blistering book. Depp was, of course, a very close friend of Thompson's, and his impression of him is note perfect. But what impresses me more is the fact that his movements, his bodily contortions, seem to be drawn absolutely from Ralph Steadman's cartoons. At 3, Edward Scissorhands, Depp's first collaboration with Tim Burton, in which he essentially plays Tim Burton. Think about it. Edward Scissorhands is basically a Burton-esque character, a loner, a misunderstood goth, an extraordinary artist who lives a lonely, isolated existence. Burton actually served his apprenticeship working for Disney, where apparently he went mad, drawing cute animals with lovely eyes, and then reacted against that by making his own animations with characters with no eyes and no hands. At 2, the still sadly little seen Dead Man, Jim Jarmusch's brilliant western. Johnny Depp plays William Blake, a character wandering through an undead landscape. Supporting cast once again includes Iggy Pop, but for me, this is the great modern silent movie. Indeed, when Jim Jarmusch first showed the film to Neil Young said, "You don't need any music. This is a silent film, music would spoil it." Jim Jarmusch pointed out that silent movies always had live music, and that's how Neil Young recorded the score, playing live to the playback. And finally, at number 1, my favourite Johnny Depp performance in my favourite Johnny Depp film, Ed Wood. Why do I love it so much? It's beautifully shot, fabulous monochrome cinematography. It's got a fantastic central performance by Johnny Depp, and Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski's script is nothing short of brilliant. But the real genius of that film is it's a film made by people who love cinema. Think about it. Ed Wood had a reputation for being the worst filmmaker of all time, immortalised by the Golden Turkey Awards. But it took Tim Burton and Johnny Depp to re-establish him as somebody who loved cinema, who believed in cinema, who thought he was actually making great movies. Best scene in the film, the scene in which he storms off set, goes into a bar in full drag and meets Orson Welles. And Orson Welles explains to him that ever since he made Citizen Kane, he was never treated properly, and actually everyone should fight for their own vision. And Ed is so inspired by this conversation with Orson Welles that he goes straight back out and makes Plan 9 from Outer Space. Now that is a work of genius.
My father had quite a flair for secret passages and rooms. As a boy, I took it upon myself to discover each one. Family is the only real wealth, he would often remark. Though clearly he was not opposed to other kinds.
Oh my God. We've been sitting on top of a fortune.
Know this. I mean to stay. I mean to be a part of this family again.